Hey there, Fletcher from All Things Overlanding here, and today I'm talking about technology and its impact on overlanding. Now, I did a similar episode to this a while ago, but this one's a little bit different because there have been a lot of technological changes and a lot of things that improve our trips. So again, wanted to talk a little bit today about how technology can improve overlanding. So if you want to learn more about that, stay tuned.
Where it came from, but you got it, my got it. It began in the land of the sandstorm. I fought it, though I wanted everything to do with what you give to me. Loosening my grip.
All right, guys, so as I mentioned in the intro today, I'm talking about technology and its impact on overlanding. So if you are like me and you're kind of a gearhead, you like gear for camping, you like technology, you know, I like video games. I'm an Xbox, PS5, both guy. I love technology. I like dash cams. I like drones. I like all kinds of technology. And I also just like camping gear in general, which if you're on YouTube, you may recognize how many gear videos I have on this channel. That'll tell you how much I like gear. But so again, today I wanted to touch a little bit on a number of different pieces of technology and how they've impacted overlanding. And my hope is that this will be interesting information for you, and if you're not utilizing all these different pieces of technology, hopefully it'll get your brain going a little bit, give you some ideas for ways to improve your trips, to find better spots, and to use technology to make overlanding better. So let's start with the obvious ones, right? GPS, things like that. GPS is fantastic. You know, obviously it's been around for a little while now. It's not all that new, but they continue to improve it. They continue to add more and more functionality. You know, Google Maps now will do things like object on road. It will do things like speed trap up ahead, right? It can see all the other users and tell you if you're going to slow down. It gets more and more accurate every day as far as like telling you how long a trip is going to be. I imagine, if I had to guess, sometime in the future, they may start to encroach a little bit on like your Gaias and your Onyxes, because Google always does that. Like that's just what Google does. Google loves to say, hey, if someone else is making money off this thing, let us build it into our app and steal that revenue from them, right? So it would not surprise me if we started to see more off-road stuff, more like MVUM implementation in Google Maps, and ways to sort of use Google Maps offline and off-road. That would not surprise me at all. But GPS obviously is huge. Without GPS, I know my trips would be completely different because it would be a lot harder to get to your destination, especially because I'm in the Midwest, and so a lot of my trips take 4 to 8 hours to get to the place before I even get to start exploring off-road. So, those things are awesome. I started using Onyx recently, and it's really awesome too. So I love the way that they have like established trails, and there's like user-reported content and pictures and difficulty levels on it. So there's just a ton of cool stuff that can be done with that. Gaia, sort of the same way, not quite as user-friendly, but pretty functional and works pretty well off-road. So those types of technologies are definitely good. Same goes with radios, right? Like back in the day when I was a younger man, starting to just off-road for the first time, not really overlanding yet because we didn't know what that was back when I was a kid, we had CB radios, right? And then stepping up to GMRS and even ham radios, which is above my level of competency, but even just GMRS radios, right, have made my connection way better. It's way easier to find people on different channels. I don't have to tune the radio. So GMRS is definitely another way that has sort of changed the way that we wheel, right? I can be within a couple miles of my buddies and we can get each other on the radio, sometimes longer distances, right? So having something like that improves communication, makes it way simpler and easier and better quality to communicate with each other, changes your trip. When I'm on a 10-hour drive to the UP of Michigan and I can just chat back and forth with my buddies without having to be on some sort of like a conference call or like a merged call on my cell phone that's just eating through my battery. It allows me to do more things with my other technology besides talking to my friends. It makes it really easy to chat. So GMRS is definitely another one. Another one that doesn't get talked about a whole lot, but definitely within my friends group of YouTubers is drones, right? And when I say drones, not just shooting video, like of course that's what I use it for primarily, but there have been times where I'm kind of like, I'm lost on this trail. I don't know where we are. And I'll throw the drone up and kind of get my bearings, right? Look around me and see like what's over here, what's over there. Oh, there's a road over there. Or, oh, I see a town over there. Like there are times, especially like when I was on a trip in a year ago to Wyoming, where you could throw this thing up on top of this hill and you're completely immersed in trees and you can't see anything. But then you throw the drone up and you're like, oh man, there's, whatever town that we were trying to get to. I can see it. It's straight over that way. Looks like we need to go down this mountain pass and then take a right on that next road, right? So you can use drones for some scouting to kind of see your surroundings. That's a little silly, right? Like if I'm being honest, I'm not necessarily advocating for that. But there are times where I'm like, I'm going to throw the drone up anyways just to like take some video. And then I will, because I have it, I'll use it just to kind of look around to see what's around me, right? Another example is things like the Garmin InReach or the Zoleo, sort of like out of cell signal satellite communicators, right? So there are these things that allow you to connect only to satellites because you don't have cell reception in a lot of these dispersed camping areas, right? So by having something like a Garmin InReach or a Zoleo, you can at least send text messages, you can get updates back and forth, you can get weather updates. So, you don't have to be just reliant on cell technology. You have sort of a backup that you can use for communications and for weather and things like that. Another thing on that sort of same tack as the InReach or that kind of thing is Starlink. Starlink is huge. Cell boosters kind of in the same family as that too. I personally have a Wilson WeBoost on my truck, and it makes a huge difference in my cell reception. If I've just barely got any bars or I'm dropping between 1 bar and SOS, I can turn that on and I can get up to 2 or 3 bars, and I can get text messages through if I need to. I can check things if I need to. I could, generally get Google Maps to work if I needed to. So if you didn't download a map before you left, it allows you to do that generally. So that is a good sort of stopgap that doesn't require any sort of subscription or ongoing cost. That's why I have that, because I've had it for several years across a couple different trucks, and it's been great, and it helps me just do better with the cell signal that I've already got. Now, the Starlink is a whole nother level, right? It's a fairly large expense up front for the hardware, and then you also have to pay like a subscription fee. But man, it's so cool. I know a few people that have Starlink, and they're in their trucks doing full-on work, and their vehicle becomes like a mobile Wi-Fi hotspot, right? So if you are going to be traveling full-time, if you're going to be working from the road a lot, something like a Starlink makes a ton of sense. And again, 5 years ago, you couldn't even have done this, right? You would have had to stop off in towns to steal Wi-Fi off of McDonald's or a hotel or something. And now you could literally be on top of a mountain with no cell signal in the middle of nowhere, and you could have great reception because of your Starlink, and you could do work and stay there for a week or whatever. It just frees you up and makes overlanding so much better to have that capability that something like Starlink brings to you. So another piece of technology that I think is great and has, again, drastically changed my trips anyways for overlanding is the evolution of like LiFePO4 battery chemistry, right? So even just 2 or 3, 4 years ago, when I bought my first 100 amp hour LiFePO4 battery, it was like $500, and that was a really cheap no-name brand, Chinese brand off of Amazon. And I kind of rolled the dice and I bought that, and it was great. I used it for 2 or 3 years. It was awesome. I loved it so much I ended up upgrading to a 200 amp hour LiFePO4 battery. But when I upgraded that 200 amp hour LiFePO4 battery, it was about $550 for a 200 amp hour with built-in heating and all that stuff, right? So like the prices on that stuff has come way down, but adding something like a LiFePO4 battery to your vehicle and then some sort of a controller like a RedArc or something similar allows you to become truly independent, right? It allows you to really stretch your trips and be out there charging all your electronics, keeping your fridge running, keeping your batteries for your drone and all your technology running. So having these big capacity LiFePO4 batteries, again, has completely changed the way that we camp. I would argue that while it's not super technologically advanced, there's a lot of technology that goes into developing and creating things like rooftop tents and awnings and things like that. And the industry has come leaps and bounds just in the last few years as far as what's possible in a rooftop tent. A lot of these wedge style tents that were really kind of restrictive and cramped, they've improved the setup of them. They've added an X hinge like in my open road at the base of it that gives you more footroom, more headroom. There's, the fold out U-bar in a lot of these tents that were developed with technology, with creativity, but they're using CAD and stuff to design these things, using technology to make all the gear better. So just in general, the creativity of people in the overlanding space and then the technologies they use to, research and develop these products for us, even that has created a lot of change that's improving overlanding for everybody. And then another one that I don't think people think about a ton, is social media, right? Everybody kind of despises social media. I personally am not a huge fan of it. I feel like it's necessary because I have a YouTube channel. But if that wasn't the case, I'd probably get off of most of it if I could. However, I use it as a super valuable tool all the time to find spots. And the way that I do that, I've done some videos on that. I'll put a link up here if you're on YouTube, a card for where you can go and check that out. So I won't go super deep into it, but just to kind of tell you what I'm talking about. What I mean by that is I will go and join, let's say that I'm going to Land Between the Lakes in Kentucky. Cool place, tons of awesome dispersed camping, tons of super fun, some challenging trails and stuff. It's a fun place to go and wheel and also camp. I will join like local groups to Kentucky. I will join like Land Between the Lakes, Lovers, or whatever, like there's groups for all this stuff. If you search for the thing that you're looking for, the national forest, the state park, the national park, the, state recreational area, whatever you're looking for, there's almost always multiple groups dedicated to that. They may not be your same make and model. Like I've joined a bunch of Jeep groups, even though I drive a Nissan, because those Jeep people get out and they go and explore that area and they will share spots. And then once you get in there, you can search within those groups and not be an annoying drag on the group, right? But you can go in there and search for like camping spots, camping locations, dispersed camping. You can search for those types of terms. And then you can find that a lot of people have already had these conversations, right? And they may not give you specific coordinates just to kind of protect the spots and make it so that people don't just all go to the same exact spot, but they may give you areas. They may give you like specific parts like, hey, check out XYZ area, or check out this campground that's in the middle of the forest. And then on your way there, you get to explore and you may find some other dispersed camping. But so again, social media, Facebook groups, asking people, YouTube has a ton of videos about specific types of areas and kind of where to check out. Again, generally without the specific spot, but with an idea of where to go to start to explore, right? So that's still, though, that's better than, again, 5-6 years ago, I was like, I guess I need someone to invite me on a trip because I don't know where to go, right? I don't know where I'm allowed to be. I don't want to get in trouble. I don't want to do something I'm not supposed to, right? And it was very intimidating. But again, that was like early on in like Facebook group time 5 or 6 years ago. And I joined a local group called Midwest Overlanders that's grown to be really large. But that group was, had some people in it that were like, hey, we're going camping this weekend in Hoosier National. Who wants to join? And I'm like, me. And that was kind of what got me out. I'm like, oh, this isn't so bad. Like there's a spot there, there's a spot there, there's a spot there. I kind of followed them around. I dropped some pins when I had enough reception in my Google Maps to do that because that's what I was using at that time. And it was awesome, right? And it got me out of my comfort zone. But nowadays, you can get into these groups. You can get a bunch of recommendations. You can go out on your own if you want, or with a small group. Again, I would generally recommend not going by yourself, just in case something happened, you got stuck or you got hurt and you needed some sort of assistance. Go out with a friend or two and explore, and then you can find stuff, right? But these guys and girls in these groups will at least give you kind of an idea of where to go and help you narrow down your search. So I'm sure that there are things that I missed, right? And if you can think of something and you're on YouTube, drop down in the comments and let me know anything that you're thinking of that I missed. I'd love to hear from you guys. If you are on the podcast and you're listening, leave a 5-star review. That's super helpful and it helps other people find the podcast, or add it to your favorites. Or jump over to my other social channels, which are also linked in the description down below, to join the conversation on all these topics. Also below this video, if you're on YouTube, is a join button. That's just a passive way to support the channel. You get early access to the videos and the podcasts and some other perks, so check that out. There's also a link to my website where I've got funny overlanding camping themed patches and stickers. So if you're into that kind of stuff, things like Weekend Warrior and it's a jerry can, or Don't Burn Your Wiener, it's a hot dog, that kind of thing, dad joke style patches and stickers, check those out down below. Then there's also a link to my Patreon page where we've got a 24/7 Discord, we've got a once-a-month Zoom call that we do, and we do a couple of trips a year. So if you want to join in on that, definitely check that out as well. And then last but not least, there is the Newbie Overlanders Facebook group. This is a group that I run that is awesome. It has almost 19,000 members in it at this time, but it's different from the big groups where we are super strict on not being super self-promotional, being helpful, not being bullies, that kind of thing. So if you're looking for a spot that's different from the other big groups and you really want to learn or help new folks learn, check out Newbie Overlanders. But again, that'll do it for this episode. Thanks so much for watching. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time.